Welcome to the second video in our series on how to use the Digital Enlarger app. Today, we are going to take a look into the Tonal Exposer Mode. So let's jump right into it. As you can see here, I have the title Choose Material on the top of the screen, and the phrase Click to load a material right under it. At the moment, since we're on a fresh install, the program doesn't have any material and it's completely empty. If we try to click on the text, the program will prompt us to calibrate a new material first. And what that means is that we have to configure a new photographic paper or any other light-sensitive surface before we can use it. This mode exposes the image on a little different way. You will soon understand this, but let's add a new material first. By clicking on the button at the bottom of the screen, I can open the Curve Calibrator. And here, by using these three sliders, I can adjust the screen brightness and define a total exposure time, as well as the amount of tiles. These parameters are needed so we can create a test strip, which we will use to calibrate the new material into the program. Now you can get a piece of your favorite material and start a test strip exposure. And like we did with the standard modes, we're going to use our voice to do the triggering of the exposure. Expose! The program is now generating an animation based on the different parameters that we've chosen in the calibrator, 10 tiles in 50 seconds in this case. It will put 5 seconds on each tile and iterate through the animation until the next last tile, which will be black. And so the whole screen will finally turn black at the end. Now you have to develop your exposed paper, and you probably have to do this for a couple of times until you get a white to black grayscale that you are happy with. After you have the test strip, you can scan or take a photo of it. You can scan it with a reference like a calibration card or similar, but also adjust everything later into the program. So don't worry about being super precise. I'll show how you can fine-tune levels a bit later in the video. I use 10 tiles on my test strips, and this is more than enough for the program to use as initial values for the calibration. Let's try to open a test strip image that I've scanned earlier and loaded into the program. Now I press on Calibrate Contrast Curve, and the program will calibrate a new set of values based on the levels that it reads from the test strip image. It works on 8-bit, so right now it has already generated a curve containing 256 different shades of gray. I'll click on Save New Material, and let's say I'll call it Test Ilford. The paper brand and type are good choices for naming. Of course, we will also add the print size, because this will vary when you go for larger or smaller prints. I can finally click Save, and it's now automatically added to my list. You can also manage items later, but I'll go right into the Tonal Exposer now and show you that when we try to press Click to load a material this time, we can see our material list with our first material. I can select it and click on OK. All the parameters and information from this material are now loaded into the program and ready to be used. Let's see how it works. I'll go to the gallery and choose an image, this image here, and I can now click Generate a GIF from Image. The program will now create the exposure sequence. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes for images around 1 megabyte. I usually use a resolution that matches the screen pixel density of the device that I'm using. The animation will be made using the chosen material's contrast curve, of course, and have the correct timing for each created frame, which will represent a different shade of gray from the chosen image. When the process is done, you'll see that the newly generated animation loads into the preview box. You can now save this GIF file for later use. You just need to compute the image once or until you get a satisfying result, and you can store it after that. Remember to use a reference to the material's name or screen brightness, as this can change between materials. Ideally, a folder for each material with its corresponding generated animations is a good way to keep everything organized. When load a material, it will automatically adjust the screen to the material's calibrated brightness value. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look now into the tonal exposure itself. I can also here do it in landscape or portrait as before. You just rotate the phone accordingly. Expose. Now you can see how the animation is playing. The results you can obtain with this when you have a correct adjusted contrast curve are incredible. But let's imagine you don't have a scanning reference, and you have just a test strip that may not be accurately representing your paper. There are a few things you can do. The first are quick fixes. The dark and lighter tones slider lets you add a minimum time for each frame. This will make lighter tones darker, but slowly increase total exposure time, so it needs to be used with caution. Also, the post-flashing slider, which will create a white frame in the end of the animation that will stay for as long as the chosen time. Note that these values have to be defined before generating the GIF, or else they won't affect the animation. Also, both slider values are in milliseconds. But what if you want to precisely adjust your contrast curve and have more ways to tune the original curve? We got you. Simply go back to the Curve Calibrator and click on Manage Material List. Here we can see our newly added material. We can click on the checkbox and the Recalibrate button at the bottom. We're now in the Recalibrator screen. Here you can adjust each original collected value from the test strip independently, either by using the sliders or directly inputting the numbers as text values. You can really fine-tune things here, and when you're done, simply click on Save, and the app will generate a new curve using the newly edited values and update the chosen material. Now you can go back and try your newly recalibrated values. Quick note, in the Manage Material List window, you can also select one or multiple items and click Delete in order to eliminate them from the list. That's it for now. I've covered all the uses and configurations in the Tonal Exposer mode. I hope you have a lot of fun with it as I do. Thanks for being with me until the end of this video. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to drop a comment down below, and I will gladly answer it. Bye for now, and see you on a next video.